Okay, it's recording. Should be connecting to Facebook right now for a live stream. I don't know why it's not connecting.
It was saying, please wait.
Because once it's live, those numbers there will change. Can I borrow your phone? No, you're going to leave. We may just have to record instead of doing a live stream.
Start rallying! What the hell?
Are you sure? Yeah.
Start
Are you
rallying! You're
going on
all
Facebook and see
fucking
if I'm live
standing here, stupid salt bitches! This motherfucker! Suck his dick! Fuck your feelings!
No.
Wake up, asshole!
Am I in your way if I'm sitting here?
No, you're good.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Woo! Okay, let's get this thing started. Sorry about the delay. We were trying to get the live stream to work. It may or may not be working. If anyone wants the live stream from their own phone, feel free. So first I want to thank everybody for coming out here today, especially on the short notice. It's 36 hours and we're all here, so good job everybody. I want to give a shout out to the parents that brought their children and everybody else, but thank you for bringing your kids. You're teaching them the right way. So I'm going to give you guys some words and then I'll introduce our actual speakers today. So my name is Phelan Acheson. Before we really get started, can everybody please chant "No More War" 3 times?
No more war!
No more war!
No more war! No more war!
No more war!
Yes, great. Thank you. So like I said, my name is Phelan Acheson. A little about me, I'm neurodivergent. I'm a photographer and a writer. On a daily basis, I use the power of the lens and the sword of a pen to tell the stories that are being silenced by our society, or I try to anyways. But today isn't about me. Today is about no more war, no more destabilization of the world, and no more subsidization of death in the name of oil.
Woo!
Today is about reminding a warmongering Congress, regardless of partisan affiliation, that the only consensus that matters is that of the people they draw their power from. Today is about radical love in action and solidarity in praxis. This one day has power because we all have power. All of us. You, me, those of us who couldn't make it or are still on their way, those of us who are here in spirit, we all have our own powers and abilities, and that's undeniable. Like I said, we all have skills, abilities, and talents, and it is past time for us to collectively magnify the office of our humanity. However, one day of action is not enough. Today needs to be a catalyst, a launch pad, a starting point for change. It is time for us to stand up together in direct and nonviolent action, stuff like this. We need to be doing what we're doing today more often, more spontaneously. We need to write elected officials, organize our communities, hold rallies, and do everything else any of us can think of to show the world the power of all the people, especially the power of the people scorned. And vote for peace rather than the lesser of two evils. A lot of people love to talk about unity and civility. Those aren't enough. All those do is entrench the bad things that are happening. So I want to talk to you about solidarity. Solidarity is the kind of love and passion that acts, that shows up. Solidarity is rooted in morals, values, love, and passion, and it always transcends hatred and laws. Solidarity is showing up like all you people did today, and I want to thank you. Solidarity is seeing a protest or direct action and joining it because it is the right thing to do, even at personal cost.
Yeah.
Solidarity is, as an example, joining the unsheltered occupation of Washington Square just a couple blocks down that's being organized right now to get our unsheltered neighbors some help. And helping while you're there, even if that's just showing up. Solidarity is campaigning for a moral government and a moral economy. Above all, solidarity is picking a side and defending humanity. I don't know if you know this, but the federal government currently spends about $232 million an hour to subsidize two things: war and oil. And that's such a staggering amount of money that it's really hard to fathom, but let's put it this way. Speaking as a Mormon-ish person myself, the LDS Church spent $1.5 billion on the City Creek Mall downtown. We won't get into what else they could have done with that money, but what I will say is that in the average full-time worker's 8-hour shift, the U.S. government could afford one City Creek Mall every 8 hours for how much we're spending on war and oil, just to give you a physical representation of that wealth that we're wasting to kill people. And if we go to war with Iran, that number will seem small. It will seem tiny compared to the new number in 5 years. If we go to war with Iran, there will be more blood spilt needlessly and time wasted against our only real enemy, which is climate change. Last time I checked, we have just over 12 years left in our carbon budget, and war will only spend that carbon budget even faster. At current rates of warming, if we do nothing, or if we do worse than nothing, which is continue the increase in pollution that we are now, humanity will nearly be extinct by 2060. Or sooner. Those are the most conservative estimates. Which is really bad news, but now is not the time to despair. Now is the time to act. I will be darned if I let my cousins die to the climate apocalypse. So we all need to focus on what we love and draw hope in that, because we still have a shot to stop this war and a shot to save the world. We're on the brink of war thanks to the unhinged tyranny of the current president. We need not just any new president, but an anti-war president. One who will stand up for all of us, no qualifier, and help defend peace and fight the real threat that faces all humanity, climate change. In case you couldn't tell by the shirt, that's why I personally am an unapologetic supporter of Bernie Sanders, which is not what today's about. But he is the best shot we have. He is the only presidential candidate who voted against the Iraq War. He voted against giving Trump more money for the military all 3 years Trump has been in office. And he was the very first person in our country, that at least a high-profile politician, to call the assassination of Iraq's number 2, Qasem Soleimani, for what it was, an assassination. So Bernie Sanders, like him or not, he's our best shot at saving our species and preserving the only known haven of life in this universe. I want it to be known, we need it to be known, that we stand in solidarity and mourning with the people of Iran, and we disavow the actions of our president and any supporting actions our government now takes to escalate or cause conflict. No more war. Let it be clear, sanctions are warfare. They're economic warfare, regardless of who we wage them against. It is one of the worst kinds because it is quieter, but just as deadly. So we need to let our voices be heard. And to those politicians who see us, let them know they will face electoral crisis if they feed this war. If they won't respect our will, the will of the people they draw sovereignty from, we will replace them with people who will. Our secret weapon is the ballot box, and none of us here are afraid to use it. Martin Luther King Jr. said it best. Those who love peace must learn to organize as effectively as those who love war. Quote unquote. I will now introduce you to our four speakers today, starting with Al Bors. Where are you? Hi. So this is Al Bors. He's a lecturer of ethnic studies at the University of Utah, an instructional coordinator for the Diversity Scholars Program, a program for first-generation college students and students of colors at the U. Also, the Civil Rights Committee Director for the Iranian American Society of Utah. Born in Salt Lake City, he is proud to call this city his home. After our Bors speaks, we'll also have Les Phelan, who is a member of the Salt Lake Democratic Socialists of America and an Army veteran who served in Iraq from 06 to 07. We'll have Nick Godfrey speak after that. He's a labor organizer with the Teamsters and a member of the Freedom Road Socialist Organization. He's been involved in anti-war, anti-police crimes activism in Salt Lake for the past 6 years. And Ian, our final speaker today, is an organizer with Wasatch Tenants United. So to welcome Al Bors up here, everybody start chanting, no more war.
No more war! 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 No more war!
Okay, first of all, I want everybody to make some noise so that people can hear that we're here. That's the best you got. Let's try it one more time. Everybody make some noise so that people know we're here. Thank you so much. It's so wonderful to see all of your faces out here. As Phelan said, my name is Al Bors, and I am proud to be here with you all. I'm the Civil Rights Committee Director of the Iranian American Society of Utah. I was born here in Salt Lake City. I'm proud to call this city my hometown. You all make me proud to call this city my hometown, so give yourselves another round of applause. My family moved here from Iran in the 1980s, and this time has been a very painful time for our community, for the Iranian American community in the U.S. When I think about the disastrous consequences that another war would have, I think about my family members, my aunts and uncles, and my cousins in a city called Ahvaz, which is about a couple hundred kilometers away from the Iran-Iraq border. I think about them who will be paying the highest price of this disastrous war. I think about my family and all of my family members in Tehran and across Iran who've already suffered through an 8-year war in the 1980s, the Iran-Iraq war. That war only brought disaster and violence. We cannot suffer that again. We cannot ask them to suffer another war. I think about my friends and family and the Iranian American community here in the U.S. and people that look like us who are going to face even more racial hostility as this administration ramps up the drums to war and ramps up hatred toward our community. We're going to see more hostility against our community as we've seen with the Muslim ban, and it's only going to get worse. Are we going to stand for that?
No!
Are we going to stand for that?
No!
Thank you so much for being here. I also want to say that we've been lied to time and again by our leaders that war brings democracy.
No!
That's what we've been told. But we know, we've seen over the past 17 years that war only brings more violence, more terror, more disaster for people. We've seen this time and again. We saw this with the 2003 invasion of Iraq, where it was working class Americans who were sent and killed, where hundreds of thousands of Iraqis were killed as a result of that war, and Iraqis are still paying the price of that terrible invasion. This is what the Trump administration is trying to do again with their rash actions, and we're not going to stand for that. I also think that it's important to say that war wreaks havoc on pro-democracy movements. This is really important. We've seen really inspiring pro-democracy movements emerge, pop popular movements among workers, among women, among different sectors of society in Iraq, in Iran, all across the region. These are the real, true hopes for democracy, and we must stand in solidarity with them. Just recently, in recent months, we've seen inspiring protests from thousands of people across Iraq that have been calling for an end to U.S. intervention in their country and to Iranian intervention in their country, calling for an independent Iraq for the people. We must stand in solidarity with those people, and standing against a disastrous war is standing in solidarity with those people. So let's rise up today in that spirit. I want to read a poem that a friend of mine in Iran, who is a women's movement activist, introduced me to. It's a poem by Hafez Mousavi, and this was a poem he talked to people about during a time when there was more calls to war. Again, this was around 2011. And this was coming from somebody in the women's movement who was fighting state repression in Iran for a better and just society, talking about how war is only going to wreak havoc on those movements. So this is a poem by Hafez Mousavi. Carry my message to the birds and kites that fly the skies of Kabul, Herat, Mazar, Kandahar. Carry my message to the children who play in the alleys of Baghdad, Basra, Al-Anbar. Carry my message to the mothers of Gaza who go to the streets to buy bread. Carry my message to all the people of the Middle East who walk the streets of Tehran, Damascus, Beirut. May they take refuge in the nearest shelter as quickly as they can. They are the nearest targets of the missiles fired from each side. It is in this spirit that we stand here today and that we rise up, and together we say no to war with Iran, we say no to U.S. wars and sanctions, we say solidarity with the people of Iran, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and across the region. We say hands off Iran! 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 Thank you so much, you guys are beautiful. I love you all so much.
And next we'll be having... So up next is Wes Phelan. Before you go, Wes, I did forget to announce one of our speakers, and I am terribly sorry. After Ian speaks, we'll have Colin from the Students for a Democratic Society come up to speak. But without further ado, here's Wes.
I joined the Army in 2004 and served in Iraq from 2006 to 2007. When I signed up, I had ideas about fighting for freedom and the Constitution. I realized too late that the real mission was is fighting for U.S. corporate interests. Working class people are sent to die and kill fellow working class people under the banner of duty and patriotism while watching Raytheon and Boeing stocks soar. The misery of poor people is created and monetized by private defense corporations. When you enlist and raise your right hand, it has nothing to do with anything loftier than enriching the masters of war. Endless war is not an accident, but a vital part of the continuation of a capitalist system. I'd like to read a quick excerpt from the official statement released by the Democratic Socialists of America. A U.S. war against Iran would be catastrophic. U.S. wars in the Middle East have left a bloody legacy, killing over 1 million people. This new conflict would endanger the lives of millions of Iranians, Iraqis, and others throughout the Middle East, potentially creating a near continuous war zone from Lebanon to Afghanistan. As internationalists, we stand in solidarity with the people of the Middle East, from the streets of Baghdad to Beirut, in their struggles for liberation and against the scourge of war. As democratic socialists, we reject further war, imperialism, and militarism by our government. We oppose a war with Iran, call for the lifting of sanctions, the rejoining of the Iran nuclear deal, and the removal of U.S. troops from Iraq. It's really good to see you all here. It's important to come together and mourn as a community, but protests and demonstrations will not stop this abomination. The real work starts after we leave today. This will not end until we take the profit out of war. We must organize, strike, disobey orders, go AWOL. We must grind down this war machine. If you or someone you know is enlisted, I'd like to point you toward GIRightsHotline.org. If you or someone you know is, if you or someone you love is in the delayed entry program, you do not owe them anything. They will lie to you like they've lied to every enlisted person, but it's not too late to ghost your recruiter. Solidarity forever.
Whoa, that's loud. All right, where did my papers go? Sorry, everybody. All right, up next is Nick Godfrey. Again, Nick Godfrey is a labor organizer in the Teamsters and member of the Freedom Road Socialist Organization. Where are you, Nick?
Thank you all so much for coming out today. This is an amazing turnout. I'm so grateful to have been asked to speak today. I'm sorry I don't have more prepared remarks. I've been busy with the occupation down in Washington Park. And I think it's really appropriate that these two events are going on at the same time, because there's a very intimate connection between the poverty and the human misery that we see on the streets of Salt Lake every single day and the decision to go to war in Iran. We know why this occupation is needed right now, because they shut down the road home. They opened 3 smaller shelters with hundreds less total beds. And people are out here on the street in the freezing cold through the dead of winter. And they're being harassed by cops. They're having their possessions stolen, their camps broken up, for the purpose of pushing them out of the city and out of the state. And all of that is just to enrich the profits of a few developers, to tear down the old shelter, to move people away from shopping centers, to build more shops, more apartments for rich developers to turn a profit. And that's why we're in Iran as well. That's why we've been in Iraq, and in Syria, and in Afghanistan, and Libya, and Yemen, and more countries than I can even remember. We need a revolution, absolutely. That's the only chance. That's the only chance we have in stopping this war machine. We've already seen profits of weapon companies and oil companies surging just since the airstrike that killed Soleimani. That's already taking place. Those of us who remember the lead up to the Iraq War know how this is going to play out. There's going to be a surge of shallow patriotism, calls to support our troops, as if there was anything we could do to support them more than to not send them to die in unnecessary wars for profit. There's an intimate connection between policing and between these wars. The LAPD and the NYPD immediately after the airstrike announced that they are going to be moving resources into key sectors. We know what that means. It's going to be more spying on the Muslim community. It's going to be more police repression of poor people because they decided to attack Iran. Poor people here have to pay the price. We know that they get their weapons, their training, the same tear gas they shoot at us here is shot at Palestinians in Gaza. They're trained by the same people. They didn't go after Soleimani just because he was a strong leader, but because he was an internationalist and because he supported liberation in Palestine and across the Middle East. I do want to push back about a talking point I've heard a lot, which is that this is the start of World War III. And I have a bit of a problem with that idea because we know what a world war looks like. We know what World War I and World War II was, and it was somewhat symmetrical wars with great armies of similar size, similar capacity clashing. This is going to be a one-sided slaughter, no matter who's involved. It's going to mean genocide in Iran. Just like we've seen genocide throughout the Middle East. 4 million dead because of the war on terror. And that's directly from war. That's not even considering all the people who've been killed by sanctions. The U.S. has had strict sanctions on Iran that have prevented people from getting food and medicine. It's meant children dying. The war has been going on for a long time. It's just getting hotter now. We do have power. We have power as working people to stop this war. What we lack is the organization.
Yeah.
We can shut the city down. We can shut this country down.
Right.
As Eugene Debs said, all workers need to do is put their hands in their pockets, and they have the capitalist class licked. A proportional response to this war, this airstrike, would be a general strike. Would be all of us refusing to engage, refusing to allow the economy to continue to function as long as our tax dollars are being used to kill innocent people abroad.
Yeah.
But we're not at that point yet. And that's why we need you to form unions. If you're in a union, we need you to talk with your coworkers. We need to build an organization. We need to have the capacity to declare a strike. We need organization within our communities. We need to stop police abuse, to take the boot off people's necks so that people can attend events like this.
Yeah.
Yes!
On campuses to bring more people out. We need all of us together opposing this capitalist war for profit.
Hands off Iran! Hands off Iran! Hands off Iran!
Thank you very much.
Hands off Iran!
Okay. So up next is Ian. Where are you, Ian? All right. So Ian is an organizer with Wasatch Tenants United, and we just got word that somebody from the Party for Socialism and Liberation wants to speak. So whoever that is will go after Ian, and then we'll have 1 second. And then we'll have Charles Knuckles from the Socialist Party of America Wasatch chapter speak after our comrades from the Party of Socialism and Liberation. So without further ado, here's Ian. Alright, just real quick, just to start, I want everyone to take like 4, 5, 6 steps forward. Not sure. Alright, I'm going to start off with some chants. Occupation is a crime from Iraq to Palestine!
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 1, 2, 3, 4, we won't fight a rich man's war!
1, 2, 3, 4, we won't fight a rich man's war!
1, 2, 3, 4, we won't fight a rich man's war!
1, 2, 3, 4, we won't fight a rich man's war!
Biggest threat to the world today, Donald Trump and the CIA!
Biggest threat to the world today, Donald Trump and the CIA!
All right. Again, like it was mentioned, my name is Ian. I'm with the Wasatch Tenants United organization. We're an organization that's working to alleviate the problems of houselessness and housing crisis through there's things like the rent's too fucking high in this city. It's going up more every day. It's going up more every year. It went up 50% over the last 10 years, and that's all, like Nick mentioned, to profit developers, to profit these rich pieces of shit, to profit these people who are the same people who are going to end up profiting. We're the same class of people who are going to end up profiting off of a war with Iran at our expense. $717 billion was just allocated to the defense budget. $717 billion that could go to alleviating homelessness, housing issues, and all these things. Our communities are paying for this.
Our communities are paying, are filling. That $717 isn't coming from nowhere. That's coming from our fucking tax dollars. Okay? And again, like it was mentioned, if this war starts, what we're going to see is more militarization, more crackdowns on Muslim communities, on activist communities. This is going to affect us directly. This is not going to help us at all. We have nothing to gain from a conflict with Iran.
Ready and working class are not our enemy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We can't stand by and let these bastards use our medical funding, use our housing funding, use our funding for education to blow people up. We can't stand for that. This is not a problem of war. This is not a problem of anything vague. They are stealing from us. They are stealing our money. We pay for the greater good, and they're using it to bomb people. We can't stand for that. There's a lot of solutions to this. But again, it's kind of vague. How do we pressure them? And what it comes down to is we need to organize on all fronts. What does imperialism look like? Imperialism looks like the rent's too fucking high because we're not spending enough money on housing waivers. Imperialism looks like homelessness on our streets. Imperialism looks like wages are not high enough. Imperialism looks like people dying because they're too afraid to go to the doctor in fear of being crippled by medical debt. That's imperialism. And the way we're going to alleviate this, the way we're going to target this, is by organizing with the homeless, by organizing against landlords who take too much, by organizing and making our city, our country sweat, and make the city, make this country shake. Make it so the only way for them to know and for this to stop pushing is to throw some more money, is to take us out of the Middle East, to bring our troops home and the money home with them. Again, I'm with Wasatch Tenants United, and so what we're doing is we're trying to go into these communities. We're trying to look at these piece of shit landlords. We're trying to make the city be forced, instead of spending $67 million on cracking down on the homeless, we're trying to make them spend $67 million on housing waivers, on rent control, things like this that can actually benefit the community. And on a national level, we need to do the same fucking thing. If they want to spend $717 billion on a war, we're going to declare war on Wall Street first. Steal from us. We're not going to fucking die for these people. We're not going to die here, and we're not going to die in Iran. We're done living on a precarious edge of homelessness and poverty. We're going to fight, and if we're going to fight here, not over there. Again, my name's Ian. I'm with Wasatch Tenants United. We're gonna be working on actually organizing with tenants. We have a meeting coming up. We have a demonstration on the 8th. If you want to get involved, come to me after this. I'll be standing over there. Thank you.
No war but class war.
No war but class war. No war but class war. No war but class war. No war but class war.
Thank you all for being here. My name is Jeff Adams. I'm an organizer with the Party for Socialism and Liberation. Before I start with some remarks that I've prepared, just do another quick plug for the occupation that's happening down in Washington Square Park. Any help that anyone can provide, whether it's just being there, but there's definitely a lot to do there, and especially just showing solidarity with the unsheltered people living here in Salt Lake City, and learning more about that struggle. But I'll go ahead and start with my remarks. Actually, before I start, I want to do a quick chant. The people of Iran are under attack. What do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
The people of Iran are under attack. What do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
The people of Iran are under attack. What do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
What do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
What do we do?
Stand up, fight back.
Thank you. With the reckless and brutal assassination of Qasem Soleimani, among other Iranian and Iraqi military leaders, the United States ruling class has told the world in no uncertain terms that it is preparing for war with Iran. But we must ask why. The reasons are simple. Every ruling class politician in this country, Republican and Democrat alike, benefit personally and politically from the prospect of an all-out war with Iran. A war which will almost certainly become a region-wide conflict in the Middle East. Why must we oppose this war? Because as workers, as socialists, our allegiance is first and foremost to the working class both here and abroad. Yeah.
direct conflict between politicians and military generals here in the United States and in Iran. Almost no coverage in the corporate media will mention the fact that Iran is a country of 80 million people, and people with self-determination who, like almost all people everywhere, do not want war. The wants and needs of workers here and everywhere are the same. Adequate housing, free medical care, a living wage, food on the table, and a life of peace. What does the ruling class want? Profit, power, control. In the wake of the assassination of General Soleimani, the stock prices of the nation's largest defense contractors, Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, all increased. War is profitable for those at the top, and always will be in an imperialist capitalist society. The CEOs of those companies want workers to fight and die so they can be rich. Our politicians want workers to fight and die so they can perpetuate their own power. Those in power also want an excuse to continue to spend trillions on war so that they don't have to spend those trillions on improving the lives of workers. The United States has been a brutal, genocidal, occupying force all over the world for decades. Millions have died in Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, Yemen, and dozens of other nations. We will fight to close every U.S. military base abroad, bring every soldier home, and end every racist, imperialist war on workers everywhere. Thank
We'll do the same one again. The people of Iran are under attack. What do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
The people of Iran are under attack. What do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
What do we do?
Stand up, fight back!
Thank you.
Thank you very much, friends and neighbors. I'm too old to stand up on this. But I hope you can see me and, more importantly, hear me. Thank you. Thank you. My name is Charles Nichols. I am professor and former chair of the Department of Anthropology at Brigham Young University. And I am, to the best of my knowledge, the only member of that faculty that is a member of a labor union. I'm proud to be the first of many, I hope. The Socialist Party of America is a national organization. We have chapters in many states, including Utah, where our chapter is known as the Wasatch Socialist Party. We are an electoral party, and I'm so delighted that there's so many other kinds of socialists here today. That in and of itself is a good thing and worthy of a round of applause, don't you think? We will eventually dominate the scene. Now, what is the key to socialism, you might ask? Our opponents, of course, will say the usual things, that it's about government control, it's about authority, it's about telling you what to do. None of those things are true. Here is the definition of socialism. It means democracy in the workplace. Democracy in the workplace. Do you work in a place where you are allowed to vote on the nature of the work you do, on how that work is organized? Do you have a vote? I don't. Maybe you don't either. But the one thing is for sure, that if we did have such a vote, we would vote into existence things that are good for the workers of this land. Things like universal health care, things like child care, things like rent control and other systems that would keep the cost of housing down. That's what we would do if our vote was heard, if we had democracy in the workplace. That's where it begins, my friends, and that's where it should end. Now, one of the previous speakers told you what the means is to achieve this end. He told you exactly what to do. It is the strike. The national sit-down strike is what we should be aiming for. We must go on strike and bring to a screeching halt the wheels of commerce, which are the only things that are driving the move toward war, profit-making all around. That's what's behind it. If we sit down and we strike, we turn off the wheels of industry, that makes a difference. Eugene Debs saw it. Norman Thomas saw it.
We've got
Martin Luther
time.
King saw it.
I've
They
got-
all saw the method, and they used
I
it.
say like a
I was there in the late 1960s.
not
Man,
early
so
thing, like,
gray hair.
I noticed that
Surely some of you were there
famous
too
man, and I
in the
wanna
late
say
1960s,
something
and
like
you
time
know what
afterwards,
we
if that's
did.
fine.
You know what we did in places
I'll
like
have
San
to go
Francisco,
after
Chicago,
Colin.
New York, and Washington. We brought
When
to our
Charles is done,
halls
I'll be interested in calling from Students for Democratic
business
Society.
as usual.
Then what
And
you
eventually, it got
My
people's
name's
attention,
Phelan.
and we ended
Brother.
back down more.
Who's going to be speaking? You?
Today
That's me. I
requires
just
a
wanna say
similar level of mobilization, and I
Carla,
urge you,
right?
Carlandria.
join one of these socialist parties.
Carlandria, don't really.
Carlandria. I can't
But
hear
join
it.
any of
It's
these
okay. No,
socialist
it's fine.
parties,
What are your
and
pronouns?
Eventually,
She,
we
her.
will ride to triumph
I'll
on a
introduce you,
wave of
and
mass
you can go
and
right after
popular
Carla.
appeal.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Hi, I'm Colin. Oh, it's not working. Hi, I'm Colin, student for Democratic Society. Louder.
Oh, it's on. Oh, wonderful. The United States government has a history of using war as a method of imperialism and control, without the consent of the governed. Just over 55 years ago, the United States approved the Gulf of Tonkin Resolution, leading to the horrific and infamous war crimes which our government undertook in Vietnam.
I don't know who brought it. I forget who brought it.
67 years ago, our country declared war
I'm letting
against
people
democracy and
speak if they
self-determination
want
once
to.
again when it
After our
initiated a coup in the same country which it is tormenting and threatening today.
I don't know where she went.
And only 16 years ago, the Bush administration brought terror and a sectarian nightmare to Iraq by declaring war against its
We'll
government.
probably just do some.
We must not forget that these wars were not fought for democracy or liberation or freedom, but corrupt instances of destruction and murder thinly veiled behind a supposed detestment of dictatorship. Now, that desire to reinvigorate the industrial military complex has once again crawled forward, and we face yet another terrifying outcome. The barbaric administration which spearheads our imperialistic state has, in the tradition of U.S. intervention, made decisions and implications which threaten to repeat history and enact vast death and despair. We cannot and refuse to support the bloodthirsty president in the White House, whose sole goal is to continue famine, death, and general suffering.
That's right!
We cannot allow people living in Iran to face the wrath of our warlords.
That's right!
We cannot allow the chauvinistic indoctrination and conscription of our youth. When they come for us, we say, hell no!
I'm sorry.
Sharice Udell with you.
One second, everybody. So we were out of speakers, but Carlandria told Brother there she just stepped up and she's going to come up and say some words. So without further ado, let's welcome her some more chants. No more war! 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 No more war!
No more war!
I just wanted to say something because I noticed there was this person of color screaming about war and like screaming at us protesting. You want to know something? Native people are also here being affected by war. Our communities are targeted by enlisters because kids on the reservation want to get out of their situation because they have no clean water. They don't have resources that we do in the city. And you want to know what pisses me off is that there are Native people supporting this war when really we are also victims of imperialism. We are White people are not affected by this. People of color in the working class are.
Sharice Udell. You saw Moms for Clean Air, but I just do Sharice Udell. It's fine.
We got another last minute speaker. Sure, yeah. If you want to make an announcement about your action, and then I'll introduce our last speaker so far.
Hello. So my name is Mayor Boncalsa, and a bunch of us gather once a month for a peace vigil. Maybe you've seen us. We've been there for years. It's 7th East and 21st South. It's on the northwest corner. We're there the first Saturday of every month from 3 to 4 p.m. Please come and join us. Like I said, we've been there for years. We've asked for the U.S. out of the Middle East. U.S. Mind your own business. So come and join us. See Facebook, Peace Vigil, Salt Lake City. Thank you.
That's too much. Okay. All right. So up next, we're gonna have Sharice Udell wherever she went. She's gonna say a few words for us. Before she starts, though, I do want to point out. If you're like me and you do support Bernie, since he will be an anti-war president, gentleman over there with the film camera holding some postcards has some postcards from the campaign to fill out and hopefully get Iowa voters to turn out the vote. And I am doing an action immediately after this from about 4:45 to 6 at the Sweet Branch of the City Library for those postcards. We'll have 75 more. If anybody wants to fill them out, get out the vote for who should be one of our first and only anti-war presidents. Feel free. But go talk to him. And without further ado, here's Sharice.
Hi, thank you. I'm Sharice Udell with Utah Moms for Clean Air. Normally I talk about air quality and climate, but today I'm going to talk about war. Preventing war, I hope. One thing I wanted to bring up is that opposing war does not mean supporting one side or the other. It is simply a recognition that war is never the answer. So those of us that are here, I would actually argue, are the most patriotic Americans in this nation. Because as we tell our children, use your words, not your fists. It's pretty simple. Kindergartners can understand it. Maybe Trump can. I doubt it, but we'll work on it. I also wanted to say you can't claim to be acting in self-defense when you have armies 10,000 miles away and you're literally surrounding another country that you've been attacking for 70 years. Sorry, let me get my next piece here. So I do want to say, Iran is not entirely innocent here, we know that, but we can have two truths at the same time. Iran cannot be an innocent player in this, but also we can say that war is not the answer. And that it is patriotic to be against war. So I would say that America simply needs to get off the oil teat and get out of the Middle East. We are destroying the world with our oil addiction, and the world knows it. We have become the bad guys. I was just in Madrid at the United Nations Climate Summit, and you know who the worst player there was? Was the United States. We blocked any and every action to make progress on climate change. The war... Yes, boo. It was very embarrassing to be American in Madrid. Very embarrassing. I'm so ashamed. The war that we need to be waging is against climate change, not against our brothers and sisters in Iran. So thank you, and who am I passing the mic to?
So we've kind of come full circle, and on the topic of climate change, for those who weren't here originally, if you don't already know this country spends $232 million an hour on war and oil. That's it. And again, for those who weren't here earlier, I already said this, but the City Creek Church, the church I'm still kind of a member of, I'm Mormonish, I'll be honest. I don't know where I stand because there's a lot of moral implications with that. But the LDS Church spent $1.5 billion on that mall, and the amount of money our government spends on war and oil could buy one of those malls every 8 hours. That's how ridiculous the waste is.
Boo!
And my church is hoarding $100 billion, which is more than enough to create a perpetual fund. But it's not about the church. It's about what we're here today for. So, yes. So I don't think we have anybody else speaking today, unless anybody wants to volunteer, maybe from a group who hasn't already spoken. Before I get there, though, Rhea waving her hand in purple. If anyone here is a registered voter and wants to sign a petition for the Utah tax referendum going around, go talk to her. And then raise your hand if you're with some people and you'd like to speak, and I'll find a mic. I think you raised your hand first. I'll come over to you in a minute. This is Shearstead Grace.
So I was on the news earlier because I actually used to be homeless, and now I have a house. But anyway, so I've been campaigning for homelessness in Utah, but I just wanted to say I spent a year in Palestine volunteering with the Lutheran World Federation and at a hospital that serves the Palestinian refugees in Gaza and the West Bank. And I saw the atrocities that Israel is doing, but I also was telling all my Muslim friends all over the world that every Jew in Israel that is Orthodox believes that Zionism is a sin against God. So I was also telling people that Islam is a religion of peace, true peace. And the war that we are about to go to with Iran is a dirty, dirty public disinformation campaign to make people believe that Islam is evil. And they are not. They are a religion of peace if they truly believe the Quran. And if we stand with our brothers and sisters all over the world, and we know that, number one, true people who believe in God in Israel that are Orthodox Jews, they think that Zionism is a sin. It is a political organization by people who are atheists. This is all division. It is all to create division among the people, to create hatred among people who are all brothers and sisters of the same one true living God. And
What does Zion stand for?
Zion, and I teach people this, and all my friends and sisters, brothers and sisters, we all believe in the same God. We are all brothers and sisters. Zion is one thing. It is peace. It is a state of peace with the living God in your heart. That is all it is. It is not a Zionism was created as a political movement by atheists to create division by a bunch of intellectuals. It is not about a political movement. And all the people in Israel who are Orthodox actually know that it is a sin against God. So anyway, I just wanted to say that America, it is not in my name, and it should not be in our tax dollars, any one of us who pay. And I wanted to tell the people in Palestine, my friends in Palestine, they said to me, don't the people in America know that I want my children to live? We just want to live normal lives. Don't they want us to? And I would tell them, I am so sorry for what my government is doing with my tax dollars. It is not in my name. Not in my name.
Hands off Iran!
Hands off Iran! Hands off Iran! Hands off Iran! Hands off Iran! Hands off Iran! Hands off Iran! Hands off Iran! Hands off Iran!
All right, everybody, this is Arya. He's going to speak to us now. Hi, everyone. I didn't really prepare anything, but my name is Arya. I am 18 years old, and I am Iranian American. My parents both immigrated here from Iran when they were 18 years old after the Iranian Revolution. And I don't know if any of you guys know any Iranian Americans, but I really want you to talk to them today if you know any of them and comfort them, because I think it's very desensitizing over here about war and just sending our troops over. But for many of us, we have to call our family back home and comfort them and tell them that it's going to be okay. I have mandatory military service I have to do for Iran. And that's very scary for me because I have aspirations to go to college here. I have aspirations to have a job here and to live here. And I don't want to return back to my homeland for a war I don't want to fight.
And I feel as an Iranian American who I visited Iran many, many times. It is a second home to me, but this is also my home. And I don't want to feel alienated in both of these places that are a big part of my identity. And for that, I just want to say, I feel that President Trump has turned his back on me, on my country, and all the Iranian Americans there. Iranian Americans that I think he just ignores, the Iranian Americans that contribute so much to American society, whether they're doctors or lawyers or CEOs. And I really want Trump to know that he failed the Iranian American community this week, and I don't think this is something that we're going to forget. And I'm going to comfort my family and call on my aunts and uncles tonight and just tell them that I'm with them and my hearts are with them, and I hope you guys can do the same for all Iranian Americans that you know. Thank you. Whoa, not gonna jump this time. Okay. So, let's see. That was all on the docket for like official protest stuff, but I think we should make our voices be heard. So let's start some more chants. Let's go with No War on Iran. 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 Let's go with another one. This one.
Money for jobs and education, not for war and occupation. That
I was just using the signs. Okay. Trump says no war, we say no more. We say no more. Trump says no war, we say no more. Trump says no war, we say no more. We say no more. Alright, number one terrorist, U.S. imperialists. 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 Number one terrorist, U.S. imperialist. I want to hijack Trump's slogan as inspired by that sign. Make America anti-war. 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 Make America anti-war.
money for jobs and education, not for war and occupation.
Money for jobs and education, not for war and occupation. Money for jobs and education, not for war and occupation.
Money for jobs and
Education, not for war and occupation. Money for jobs and education, not for war and occupation. Money for jobs and education, not for war and occupation. Money for jobs and education, not for war and occupation. Money for jobs and education, not for war and occupation.
jobs and education,
Not for war and occupation.
No, sorry, I got out of sync. I'm not bad. I'm terrible with rhythm.
U.S. out of the Middle East.
No justice, no peace. U.S. out of the Middle East. No justice, no peace. U.S. out of the Middle East. No justice, no peace. U.S. out of the Middle East. No justice, no peace. U.S. out of the Middle East. No justice, no peace. U.S. out of the Middle East. No justice, no peace. U.S. out of the Middle East. No justice, no peace. U.S. out of the Middle East. No justice, no peace. U.S. out of the Middle East.
No justice, no peace. From Iran to Palestine, occupation is a crime.
From Iran to Palestine, occupation is a crime. From Iran to Palestine, occupation is a crime. From Iran to Palestine, Occupation is a crime. From Iran to Palestine. Occupation is a crime. From Iran to Palestine. Occupation is a crime. Occupation is a crime.
From Iraq to Palestine.
Occupation is a crime.
From Iraq to Palestine.
Occupation is a crime.
From Iraq to Palestine.
Occupation is a crime. From Iran to Palestine. Occupation is a crime.
Sorry, I'm terrible with rhythm, guys. I think it's part of the whole being neurodivergent thing. All right. Someone came up with one, but I forgot what it was. I'll be right back. Start it. Not another Afghanistan, U.S. out of Iran.
Afghanistan, U.S. out of Iran. Not another Afghanistan, U.S. out of Iran. Afghanistan, U.S. out of Iran.
History repeats itself until we make it change. No? Okay. Sorry, I'm just taking inspiration from people's signs. War is not the answer.
War is not the answer! What happened? War is not the answer!
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 Take over. I'm terrible with it.
Gay song. What's happening, brother? War is not the answer.
War is not the answer.
That was so true 40 years ago. 40, maybe 50, let's say 60. When we were in
When he's done, I'll
Vietnam,
let you take over.
and Edwin Starr said, war, good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Say it again. War! Good God, y'all. So, what was said 60 years ago has something to do with it today.
I do. Okay. So I will have you.
I mean, look what Muhammad Ali did. He said no, but he stood up and he fought. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, this is what's happening today. Rich people getting rich, poor people getting poor. I mean, enough is enough. And I think it is time that we all do something. You know, we have to get out and vote. Believe it or not, your vote does count. And if you sit back and let the rich people or the uppity up get their way,
What's your name? Carly. What's your
you ain't gonna have no say. It's time, people. It's time to do something. Like Marvin Gaye said, what's happening, brother? What's happening? And Edwin Starr, what's happening? And war is not the answer.
War is not the answer!
War is not the answer! War is not the answer! War is not the answer! War is not the answer! War is not the answer! War is not the answer!
And people, let's get out and vote. And let's end poverty, homelessness. If you do see someone who is down and out, put your hand out. Raise that person up instead of raising them down. This is what Donald Trump does. He likes to keep you down and ignorant. That's another form of way of keeping you ignorant, but not letting you know what's happening.
Stick it to the man.
So I encourage everybody, vote. And this is why I'm leaving Utah, because I'm going to Vegas, because I want to make sure that my vote does count. And regardless of what the circumstances is,
give it to her. Dad, sorry.
We may be outnumbered, but still let your voice be heard. Let your voice be heard. Let people know that you're not playing, man. You're not playing at all. Do something. That's all I got to say, man.
Thank you so much. I'm going to give the mic over to Harley, who will hopefully be a better chant leader than I am.
No more war! Organize the working poor!
No more war! Organize the working poor! No more war! Organize the working poor! No more war! Organize the working poor! No more war! Organize the working poor!
Money for jobs and education, not for war and occupation!
Money for jobs and education, not for war and occupation!
Money for jobs and education, not for war and occupation!
Money for jobs and education, not for war and occupation!
From Ferguson to Palestine, occupation is a crime!
From Ferguson to Palestine, occupation is a crime!
From Chicago to Palestine, occupation is a crime!
From Chicago to Palestine, occupation is a crime!
From Iran 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 to Palestine, occupation is a crime!
I say people, you say power!
People! Power! 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 Power!
When do we want justice? Now! When do we want justice?
Now!
Do we want it tomorrow?
No!
Do we want it in 2 days?
No!
Do we want it when all the facts come out?
No!
When do we want it?
Now!
When do we want it?
Now!
When do we want it?
Now!
Okay, I see the block you're getting when you're up here. Yeah. Someone pass it.
Okay. 1 second, everybody. Gotta fix the live stream. That is still not live streaming, but we'll have video, which is good. Okay.
Rob there actually decided to come up. He's going to talk to us about what's happening in France and the revolution they're doing. Maybe it'll inspire some of us.
Thank you all for coming. And I'm so glad to see Yellow Vest showing up spontaneously, because we are a leaderless movement. To the degree that that's possible. We say all leaders, no leaders. That means if you have a good idea, go do it. That means go do it. That means do it, okay? There are 3 points of unities with Yellow Vests as far as I can see. In America, it was like this. Humanity first, anti-austerity, and direct democracy. Direct democracy. Let me say a phrase that may be offensive to some of you. You may remember it. And maybe you can repeat it with me. It's the system, stupid.
It's the system, stupid.
It's the system, stupid.
It's the system, stupid.
Okay, this is a little shocking to some of you, okay? Yellow Vests are not here for your political candidate. We do not support politicians. It is about the system. Over 200 years ago, with the French, we formed the Republic. That's a very simple history lesson. You got that in your grade book textbooks. There's a lot more to the colonialism and all of that, but basically that's what happened. They copied us in 1789. It is our turn to copy them. Okay, on July 14th of this year, they declared the first direct democracy of France, saying that the Republic is irreparably corrupt. Anyway, I'm not sure what she's saying, but go ahead. That's true. That's true.
That's correct. That's correct. That's right. We should pay more attention. Yes, yes. You know, I was raised in Utah my whole life. I worked in politics until I had my eyes open in 2018 with what happened with our referenda. That's what started the LFS movement here. In any event, we need to do something. I'm going to get off of this so we can go. The LFS hope to meet 2 times a week, like they do in France. Every Saturday. We've done it traditionally in front of the governor's mansion, but we're open to suggestion for other places. And every Wednesday, we gather at what we call the Great Big Round Point, otherwise known as the state capitol. In France, they gather at the Rond Point every Wednesday, which is the roundabout in the local neighborhood. So we call that the Giant Round Point. And we meet there every Wednesday at about 4 o'clock just to discuss what we're going to do. The most important things, one of the most important things about these gatherings are the people standing next to you. One of the most important unforeseen things about the protests that happened in France were how everybody got to know each other every Saturday and what went from there. So they are more like us than any other colonial government on the planet. They are on the verge of a revolution to direct democracy. We need to pay attention to them. You can find the live stream sometimes when they're not censored. They are censored extensively by Facebook and all the mainstream media. It's hard to find online. Thank you all for being here. No war! No war but class war!
No war but class war! No war but class war! No war but class war! No war but class war! No war but class war! Woo!
Awesome, thank you, Rob. I want to point out to whoever was in the crowd when Rob was speaking, you're right. There have been socialist revolutions in South America, and they're almost always foiled by the U.S. war machine, which is just, well, I don't have words for that. I'm pretty good with words, and that one's enraging. That's all I've got. So it stands to remember, we need to remember that the change starts with us, and I hope I'm seeing it in real time. People in this crowd are talking to each other. Get to know each other. Whether or not you're part of the same organization or not, if we're all here today, that means we all at least agree on this. We need to forge these alliances. Whether you agree with me on the exact solution, all of us here agree on this problem, which means we can all work together to change it.
Yeah!
Does anyone else want to come up here and say some words, whether you're part of an organization or otherwise? All right, I'm coming down. All right, Kate's going to talk to us, everybody.
Go ahead, Kate.
Hi, so my name is Kate. I'm gay and Jewish, and I've been raised in Utah my whole life by a Mormon family. I was adopted, and I learned that oppression is very real, but I can't really say anything because I'm a white chick in Utah.
No, that's not true. No.
Oh, thank you.
See, that's the point. You don't say anything. That's why you keep quiet. That's why. You got to say something, and you got to stand up, sister.
Thank you. When I was 14, I learned how to speak out for myself, and that ruined a lot of relationships, and I'm still speaking out to this day. I think the most important thing about this whole situation is that we speak out, we tell people what we think about it, and we make sure we educate them about the ramifications of what this war could mean for everyone, and we educate them about what a clusterfuck the Trump administration is. Please. Anyways, yeah, just remember to talk to each other, communicate, speak out against anyone and everything that, is negative. Anyways, that's all I have to say. Thank you.
So, to that point, Trump is kind of uniquely terrible, but it's still the system.
Yeah.
I don't know if everybody here knows this, so I'm going to point it out. Obama dropped more bombs than Bush. Trump, I think, might have broken Obama's record by now.
my point is we have a series of presidents, regardless of partisan affiliation, who are upholding the military-industrial complex. And the last president I can think of that even said anything about it was Eisenhower. So what is that? Decades of two parties having a bipartisan consensus of war? So we have to remember, it's not just the football game between the blue team and the red team. The real struggle, the real challenge is between all of us and those at the very top, whose children will not be sent to war. I guarantee you, if I was a 1%er, I would not be sent to war if they started a draft again. But that does not the reality for those of us who are working class. That is not the reality. So we have to stand together. We have to show up and learn to organize one another for a better world. It's still possible. Let's see. I do want to plug climate change again real quick. I don't know. I know I've already cited the $232 million now we spend on war and oil. I don't know if you know this, but there's about 100 multinational corporations responsible for about 70% of the world's emissions. And last I checked, every single one of those corporations exists within the U.S., which means if we had the political will to act, we could do something about their pollutions. Yeah, because last time I checked, the government has the power to regulate and tell people and corporations, although they never tell corporations off, but to tell them off. And the last time I checked, the next on the list of the biggest polluters in the world past those 100 combined corporations is our military. So when people say, oh, America can't solve climate change alone, let's not even try, first of all, they're advocating for extinction. Second of all, by my math, we can probably solve 80% of it ourselves and rely on the world for the other 20%. And if we actually led the world with something and tried to be diplomatic, if we made repair for what we have done and said, let's fight our real enemy, instead of bullying the world for their oil, we might actually get somewhere. And honestly, this whole Iran thing, trying to start a war in Iran, is a distraction, but it's also at the, it was done, the way I say it was done as a distraction, and it was done to make money. It's designed to distract us, to make us afraid. It's designed to distract us from some of the things that the government is doing right now. And it's designed to make money for the people that always make money off of war.
War is a racket!
It is a racket. It is a racket. In fact, if you haven't read it already, there's a book by Smedley Butler. When he wrote it, he was our most decorated officer, military officer of all time. And he kind of exposes how much of a racket war is. How many multimillionaires are made off of World War II. And those are just the ones that admit it. So we have to remember, like Rod said, it's the system, stupid. It's not a single president. Although if we had the right one, could make some change, we can't do it alone. We have to rise up together. And I want to cite another statistical fact. Has anyone here heard of the 3.5% rule? No? Okay. 3.5% rule. A massive study upon study has shown that no nonviolent direct action in the history of the world that has reached 3.5% of the population has ever failed. Ever. For all of America, that means the 11 million march. 11.5 million, actually. We got 11.5 million people to say no more at the same time. Regardless of what the other 300 million are doing, we would win. And that is the 3.5% rule. It doesn't. They keep us divided because it only takes a very small group of us little people to stop them. If we, as our comrades from PSL had a great banner showing a giant shark piranha and a bunch of tiny piranhas, and it represents that when we organize and we say no more to war, no more to climate change, no more to whatever, we can win. We just have to get together and do the hard work and make the personal sacrifices necessary to organize our communities. Yeah. And keeping us tired and depressed and afraid of war and working 2 or 3 jobs is exactly the point. Because when we are focused on our own survival, when we're living in scarcity mentality,
they win. Which means we have to find the strength within ourselves, those of us that are able, whenever we're able, to rise out of these roadblocks that are put in our way specifically so we can't win. So, let's see. Do we have another? Oh yes, I forgot. I'm sorry. We've got another speaker, guys.
Hi guys, my name is Zainab, and I just want to say, like many of you guys here, I'm sick and tired of this bullshit. It needs to end. I feel like as young people, we're constantly told that we can't do anything because we're in this position where we don't have that much power. But I'm here to tell you guys, if you're young, if you're old, if you're black, if you're white, if you wear a hijab, if you are anyone, you do have a voice, and I urge you guys all to use it. I want you all to use this voice to say that the U.S. and the Middle East is committing genocide. It's dehumanizing Middle Eastern children. It's making many children displaced, and honestly, if you don't stand up for it, then you're supporting it. So, yeah, I commend a lot of you guys for being out here today and having your signs up because it does make a difference, and yeah, so.
Hold up, everybody, just checking the time. Cool. Well, we've got at least half an hour left on our little free expression permit. Not that I care too much about that. I just don't, just so you know. So if anybody else wants to get up and speak with some chants, please raise your hand now. I am more than happy to involve the community as we've been all day. If you just want to stand there and do some chants, let's do a really simple one. No more war.
No more war. No more war. No more war. No more war! 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 No more war!
We can't afford to let history repeat itself. We can't. 100 years ago, there was a rise of far-right and fascism across the country, the international globe, in large part due to economic inequality. That's happening again right now. I don't know if you guys know this, but right now, the inequality in this country has exceeded the inequality before the Great Depression. That is how royally screwed up we are right now. Furthermore, last time I checked, 99% or even 10% is a heck of a lot more than 1% or 0.1%, which is why I'm putting an emphasis on we need to organize, we need to rise up, we need to stand up, we need to say no more war, no more climate change. We need to find the issues that bind us, which, once you realize that they all bind us, and it's all thanks to one system, and that system's name is capitalism. Whether you want to call it cronyism, or corporatism, or its real name of capitalism, or what I like to call it fascism, when it gets to levels it's at, that's what it is. That's what we have to fight. Regardless of how you feel about this guy, I believe it was Benito Mussolini who once said something to the effect of, corporatism is a better word for fascism because it is merely the merger of state and corporate power. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now. We have a government that's been ruled by a bipartisan consensus of neoliberalism for decades, which basically neoliberalism is capitalism's highest form, I think, because all it does is tell the government, hey, find all the private big guys and the corporations and leave everybody else alone. Implement austerity, give all the money to those who already have too much of it. So it's just one of those things. Like Rob said, like I've said, like we've all kind of pointed to today, it's the system. And if everybody, even 3% of the people in this city,
walked out on the street and held their hands behind their backs, we would bring this enterprise, and this is what this country is, to a crashing halt. So remember that.
Yeah.
That's all it takes. You have a terrible boss or not. Walk out, put your hands behind your back and say, I won't work until there's no more war, until there's no more climate change. If we can get that, we can win.
No more war.
No more war.
No more war. No more war. No more war. No more war. No more war. No more war. No more war. No more war. No more war.
And I want to point out something. When we organize our communities, when we try to spread the word, when we try to inform our friends and our family members and our neighbors and stand up for them, part of that is, whenever possible, waking up those who don't yet see the bigger picture, those who still see it as a football team game, and as long as the blue guys win, we'll all be okay. Or those who see it, like the gentleman over there with the American flag, as long as he probably sees it as, if the red guys win, we'll all be okay. It's not that simple. It is not that simple. It has never been that simple. We're conditioned to think it is. And I'm just going off the top of my head here. So let's go with... does anyone else want to speak? All right.
I just want to say, you don't have to be a socialist to be anti-war, you don't have to be Democrat to be anti-war, you don't have to be anything to be anti-war, because at the end of the day, we're all human, and war is innately anti-human, so...
Yes, thank you. Anyone else want to say anything? Anyone got a beautiful message for us? Because you want to go? Singling you out. You raised your hand. Woo!
Alright guys, I don't know about you, but I'm sick and tired of a culture of war and violence.
Yeah!
No war on Iran!
No war!
Absolutely not! The draft has got to go too. It's a discrimination based on... It's a discrimination on men and trans women everywhere. It is horrible. We can't afford a war. We can't afford another draft. We already have so many issues on our hands. Climate change,
healthcare,
income inequality, all that.
Homelessness,
absolutely. We can't afford another war. No more war!
No more war! No more war! No more war! No more war! No more war!
Thank you.
Yeah. And to anyone who's wondering, to me, this is what democracy looks like. I said earlier the ballot box is our secret weapon, and I stand by that. But democracy isn't just on election day. In fact, treating it like, oh, we'll just vote them out next time, and doing nothing else is part of the problem. It's so much more. Greta Thunberg has a quote. I don't dare try to quote her because I don't remember it well enough. But she effectively said something like, "It is time for us to stand up and what'd she say? Be active, informed citizens of democracy, and not just wait for the ballot day." Something like that. You guys can look it up. I want to thank everybody again for being out here. I know the energy is starting to go down. I know some people are leaving, and that's okay. We showed up when we could. That's what matters. But remember, today wasn't just about today. Today was about making today a catalyst for more. Tomorrow, for change, for a better world. And so that's why I was more than happy, and I am so glad that other people from other orgs came and asked if they could speak. I'm so glad that other people plugged their community events, because this is what it looks like. This, you, me, all of us right here, speaking up about the issues that matter, making connections, trying to tell the people in power to knock it off. This is more democratic today in many ways, if we can keep this up, this is more democratic than our votes ever could be. Not that they don't matter, they do. But this is worth so much more. So I hope that those of you who are still here, those of you who aren't here, I hope that we can all leave feeling ready and inspired to act more, to do this more spontaneously, to treat civil obedience as the problem instead of civil disobedience, to show up even if you don't have a permit and tell the people in power, hey, knock it off. That kind of thing. And come down. Okay, I'm confident I can quote this one, or at least roughly. I think Acheson once said, and I'm going to quote him as best I can because he's my favorite author ever. There's a thread of anti-intellectualism in the United States, and there always has been, nurtured by the false notion that democracy means my ignorance is as good as your knowledge. And that's the best I can quote him. But just remember, part of the process is making the hard choice to come out, to learn, to challenge your bias, to challenge your privilege, to challenge everything you know, and come to a better understanding. I know for a fact that there are things I will never possibly understand simply because I'm a white guy. I can learn about them, I can ask people about them, but I will never live it. And as such, it is my responsibility to do what I can with that privilege to help those without it. And I don't have any more words. People are moving on, that's fine. Again, I want to thank everybody out here for coming out here today. Let's give each other a huge round of applause. And I'm going to start packing up the chairs, but you guys feel free to stay, feel free to chant. We do have a permit until 4, and like I said, sometimes it's worth more than staying, sometimes it's worth it to stay past the permit. And we've got one more speaker.
So this is a message about getting an education, as he was mentioning. It's not good enough to say that my ignorance is equal to your knowledge. So if you really want to know about who's running this country, you need to find out about the neocons. And the best place to do that is look up on the web, Project for the New American Century. Okay, it's called PNAC. It was written in the 1970s, late 1970s. In that project, it details everything that's been happening for the last 20 years. Okay? Every war and every involvement that we've had, foreign and domestic. Also, a corollary to that is called the New Break, which is, or the Clean Break, which is detailing apartheid Israel's role in the Middle East. So if you want to be educated, go on the website, read those, and then you can find out all the lies that have been told to justify all of our involvement. So get an education. Thank you very much.
And remember, Bush lied about the Iraq War. He later admitted it. Trump is a pathological liar. As much as corporate media tends to be trash, Walpole has done a really good job at documenting most of his lies. He's at 10 or 12,000 right now. Hey everyone, I think we should have a round of applause for our main speaker, Phelan. Thank you so much for all this.
Perfect. Either way.